Hello, and welcome to all you PIMOs, PIMIs, POMOs, POMIs, and PIMQs. Welcome to The World, the podcast where we discuss all things related to the process of waking up, walking out, and moving on from life as a Jehovah's Witness. I'm Dr. Ryan Lee, a former JW with a doctorate in clinical psychology and a practicing therapist, specializing in helping former JWs and other former cult members move through the recovery and rebuilding process. Okay, so in part 2 of this episode on how to deal with having a spouse and children who are PIMI, we're going to start by exploring the question of whether or not to remain together with your PIMI spouse. Now, of course, this decision will be a mutual discussion to some degree. But again, it's probably best for you to get a clear picture of what you want first before going into this discussion. Not only will this help you inform your decisions by giving you a sense of what you are and are not willing to bend on, but also, given the fact that Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in divorce, the weight of this decision about whether to stay together or not will probably fall a little heavier on your shoulders. So it's good to take some time to really consider what your wants are versus what your needs are. What is it that you want your life to look like after leaving the organization? And what aspects of life do you foresee will feel limiting by having a JW spouse? For example, is celebrating holidays important to you? Are you feeling strongly called to explore other relationships? You know, a lot of times people get married really young in the organization. And that's not to say that there isn't a foundation of love between the two, but a lot of times that decision was kind of made based on limited options and the idea that the world is going to come to an end any second. Now that that's not the case, you may have different feelings about what you want in a partner. You know, what you want your love life to look like. Other things to consider are, what kind of entertainment would you like to consume in this new life? Does part of your plan include a career change? Would you like to be able to invite worldly friends, aka normal people, over to the house? And is it important to you that your partner socializes with them? Remaining together with a JW spouse will unavoidably limit certain life experiences, or at least shared life experiences. So it's important to get clear on what will be important to you in this new phase of life. It's also important to be honest with yourself about the depth of your relationship. You know, do you have a connection that extends beyond shared religious beliefs? Do you laugh together? Do you enjoy shared activities? Do you share the same life goals outside of the organization? Do you enjoy sharing the things you're excited about, and will you continue to be able to do so as you start doing things that are outside the bounds of the organization? And a really important question to ask yourself is your love for them based on love of who they are and feeling loved by them for who you are outside of the organization? Or is your desire to retain the relationship mostly about the fear of the unknown and clinging to what's familiar? That's a hard one to think about, but it's really worth your time to sit with that a little bit and really get clear on how you feel about this partner. Chances are, like all relationships, there's going to be positives and negatives. So the question isn't whether this is perfect, but whether the good outweighs the not so good. If you decide to try to make it work, under what conditions will this be satisfying for you? And is your partner as invested in making this work as you are? You know, are they open to attending couples therapy and making compromises? If you do decide to stay together, have many lengthy conversations about what each of you wants that to look like. Drawing from the answers to the questions we discussed earlier, be very clear about what you want and what you want your life together to look like. Let your partner know what you'll be doing with your time and what your plans are. And remember, in order for this to work, you will have to honor what your partner's needs are as well. That doesn't mean that you have to concede on things that go against your values, like if they demand that you attend meetings or something. But regardless of what you actually decide to do on any given topic, you really still have to respect their feelings and desires and treat them as important and do your best to meet them to the degree that you can. And in places where you're not able to compromise, be very direct but gentle with them and letting them know this is just not an area I can bend on, so that at least they can make decisions fully informed. Now, people generally want to know, is this doable? Is this even possible to maintain a relationship under these circumstances? And yeah, I have encountered people that make it work. And usually what's at the foundation of these relationships is a strong basis of love, mutual respect and commitment to each other. And just like every relationship, it will require compromise and some sacrifice. The main question is, what sacrifices are you and are you not willing to make? And again, above all else, for this to work, there must be mutual respect of your differing perspectives. This is not going to work if you're just taking jabs at the religion every chance you get, or bad-mouthing your partner to your children. Now, if you're still at a point where you're unsure about staying together or breaking apart, you're just not sure, I don't know how this is going to work, what I would say is pick a path and commit to it. If you're not actively choosing to leave, but you're also not putting in any effort to work on the relationship, then you're hurting both of you and just wasting your time. Don't do that. That's just stagnation. That's just bad time for everybody. So if you don't feel ready to call it quits, then commit yourself to doing everything possible to make it work. Throw all of your energy into this. Because here's the thing, if you do that, then the worst case scenario is you'll have clear confirmation that this relationship is not salvageable despite your best efforts. And you can walk away with some peace of mind, knowing that you gave it your all. Okay, so now we're going to move into talking about one of the probably most challenging aspects of the situation, which is how to navigate things with the children. While many people may feel more flexible around whether or not their partner remains part of the organization, most of us have stronger feelings when it comes to the kiddos. When I talk to people about this, there's almost a sense of panic, that they need to rescue their children, and they have this strong sense that they need to take a strong stance on deprogramming the children. And while there may be some cases where this is warranted, in most cases this is not the best move. First of all, if your partner is PIMI, taking a hard line on removing the children from the org will inevitably create a contentious relationship where you'll be viewed as a dangerous apostate, and your partner is likely to respond in kind by fighting harder to keep the kids in the organization. This dynamic makes it so hard on the kids because they feel caught in the middle of this battle where two parents are fighting for their eternal soul, and they just want everyone to get along and be on the same page. And to extend that a little bit, the other reason a hard line isn't usually the right approach is that it can be really jarring for the kids, who will inevitably have some pretty strong feelings about you changing your mind on the worldview that you've raised them with. It's going to be a lot for them to process, Are you not going to be in paradise anymore? And does this mean you're a worldly person now? Are you an apostate? I'm just scratching the surface. There's just so many things that they're going to need to process. And here's the thing. This is a doable thing. It's fine. You're not going to ruin your kids by shifting your perspective on the Jehovah's Witnesses. It'll take some time, and they'll develop a new way of thinking about things, one way or another. But generally speaking, if the kids are 10 years old or older, it's usually best to empower the kids to make their own decisions. Forcing your perspective that JWs are a cult can be just as problematic as forcing the idea that they are the one true religion. In both of these situations, the child isn't being encouraged to use their own critical thinking ability to arrive at their own beliefs, but instead, they're trying to mold their reality to pacify mom or dad's needs and gain their approval. And no matter which side of the argument you fall on, I think most parents, that's not really what you want from your kids, to just kind of go along with what you say because you say so. You want them to really have and hold their own beliefs. Now, when a PIMI parent is involved, the ideal arrangement that you're aiming for the time being, is one in which both you and your partner are respectful of each other's different beliefs, while also each having the freedom to share your own beliefs honestly with the children, and letting the children arrive at their own conclusions. Now, provided you have this, and you're both in agreement that you're each allowed to speak openly with your children, I would strongly encourage you to be supportive of your partner's side of this as well. It doesn't mean you have to openly agree to things that you don't agree with, but it does mean that you're not going to get in the way of the relationship your partner has with the kids. And I would even go so far as to say it can be really healing, if you're willing to do things like, drop them off at the meetings and pick them up afterwards. I'm sure a lot of you are cringing at that idea. But it really, that sort of thing can go a long way towards demonstrating that you are still a family unit, that you respect and love your partner, and this helps create family harmony. Now, if this kind of mutual agreement isn't possible, and being able to speak honestly and openly with your children is a strong value for you, then this may be a deal breaker, and it may be worth considering separating so that each of you is able to raise your children in your own way when they are on your time. And if you do separate, basically the same rules apply. It's super important that you do your best to create a respectful, civil relationship with your spouse. You're well within your rights to set the rules of your house when the kids are with you. If you decide we're going to celebrate Christmas, that's what we're doing. And that's what it's like when you're at dad's house or at mom's house. But you should never speak disrespectfully of your partner to your kids. And feel free to get a therapist or a drinking buddy and vent all you want. But in relation to the kids, never speak disrespectfully of your partner. And if conflict needs to be addressed, it should never be in front of the kids. That's just a flat rule. Now, I know some of you may be in situations where your partner makes that pretty difficult because they're not on the same page with that. And they're nitpicking at you or starting fights with you. And if that's the case, number one, I'm so sorry that you were in that situation. But number two, your job as the parent is to be the parent and stay calm in that situation. Don't take the bait. Don't respond in kind. Even if your partner is speaking poorly about you to the kids, do not speak poorly about them to the kids. And as difficult as this can be, it's really the best way to go. Because even if the kids don't recognize it immediately, they're going to see over time that you are the one being attacked and you are not attacking back. I hate to reference anything from the Bible, but this is a turn the other cheek sort of situation that's going to work to your benefit. And it's going to implicitly say a lot to kids about how to handle yourself in these situations. Now, I'm guessing some of you may be thinking that the approach that I'm talking about sounds a little bit soft, and you're probably wondering, how can I do anything that shows acceptance for their involvement with this cult? And what if they get brainwashed? What if they get stuck in this cult for the rest of their lives? Now, first off, I want to say that the approach that I'm suggesting is based on so many situations that I've seen backfire when people try to attempt to force their beliefs on their spouse or their children. It creates a contentious relationship and almost always results in the person you're trying to convince digging their heels in even harder. But I'll also add that while there are no guarantees, having one parent outside of the religion drastically increases the odds that the child will follow suit. In most cases, when it comes to the kids, the degree of indoctrination of the children is directly related to the strength of indoctrination of the parents. In other words, children shape their expectations of what's possible for themselves in this world based on what is modeled for them by their parents. When both parents are PIMI, the idea of the children leaving the organization is much less likely to even be considered. However, when one parent exercises their sovereignty and chooses a different path, now that path becomes an option for the children as well. And again, while there are no guarantees, in my experience, most kids, when given the option of a life of self-denial, no holidays, no friends, no social or sexual life, no career, versus the option of a life of freedom, independence, growth, expansion, and all of the amazing things this universe has to offer, most kids will choose the latter when they feel like they have an option, especially once they see that mom or dad took that path and nothing terrible happened to them. This is also why it's so important that you fully immerse yourself in self-development and fulfillment. Because you living your best, happiest life will weigh 100 times heavier than your best argument against this religion. Okay, so in conclusion, I just want to take a second to empathize with the situation you're in. No one should ever be forced to choose between their family and a religious ideology. And this is a fucked up mess. And I'm really sorry that you even have to deal with this. If there's a strong foundation of love between you and your spouse, I really hope you find a way to make it work. And if there isn't, or if you're not able to reach an agreement that is mutually respectful about how to proceed, please know that it is totally okay to leave. While a separation will be challenging for the kids, they'll be far better off having a separate relationship with mom and dad than living in a home where there is constant turmoil and tension. Kids are resilient and they can deal with a lot of different things and grow and be totally healthy and fine. But having that constant dysfunctional family environment, that stuff does the real damage. So yeah, if it's not working out, give yourself permission to do what needs to be done and move on. And yeah, choosing to leave will involve pain, but it's a clean pain, meaning it's a pain that is necessary for a change that will ultimately result in you living a fuller life and setting an example which might eventually cause your kids to follow suit. All right, that brings us to the close of part 2 of this episode. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, leave us a review, and pay it forward by sharing this podcast with other people who may benefit. If you have any questions, feedback, or ideas for future topics, email me at drryanlee@drryanlee.com or visit my website at drryanlee.com. Until next time, remember, you are brave. You are strong. You can do this. And you, my friend, are not alone.